And it reads, when Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?
Watch out.
And they said, some say thou art John the Baptist, some Elias or Elijah, others say Jeremiah or Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. And he saith unto them, but whom do ye say that I am? And Simon Peter answered and said, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God.
Yes, you are.
And Jesus answered and said unto him, blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say also unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock will I build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. The word of the Lord is blessed. Now, Sister Levy, I'm glad you're back. That's my looking spot right there, right there. Sister Levy, after 20 years of my wife, I already know her. She's looking like, Lord, we're going to be up here forever. Like, Lord, this scripture right here. No, we're not going to be up here forever. No, y'all figure that, see? No, we're not. I know y'all. But here we are. This is a very famous piece of text, but we just want to touch on it because we're going to scoot off from there. The Lord gave me an idea and rang that bell in my head. And he wasn't, when I read this, I thought he was going to go through Jeremiah. But he didn't, or Isaiah. But he didn't. He came not from one of the prophets, but he referred me to the words of a comedian named Whoopi Goldberg. Y'all know Whoopi, right? And one of my favorite movies from way back called Sister Act.
Yes.
Y'all remember when Whoopi was a singer and she had to pretend to be a nun, and she was teaching at the school, and they ain't never go to class with her. Praise God. She was supposed to be like the music teacher, and she carries him to the competition. And there was one scene there, one of the most famous songs in that music, I guess it was musical kind of, right? And she says, if you want to be somebody, and if you want to go somewhere, you better wake up and pay attention.
I remember that.
Right, they sang the song and all that, right? If you want to be somebody and go somewhere, you better wake up and pay attention. So I feel, I try to get in front of God sometimes, so y'all pray for me. I was like, all right, I got it. He's right. And then God said, slow down and look at what she's saying. If you want to be somebody, and if you would like to go somewhere, then you have to wake up and pay attention. So I began to focus on, Jazzy, what's attention? Paying attention. Lord knows in my life I've heard that enough times, pay attention. Over and over and over again. I know as a parent I say it all the time. Pay attention. Turn the water off. Turn these lights off. Pay attention. Why are you right over there? Where's your notebook? Right? Pay attention. Pay attention, right? And I would be that my parents did the same thing to me. Then I realized that my Lord does the same thing to me too. He has to constantly say, Brian, pay attention. Brian, get back over there. Brian, right? Okay. And so attention is the noticing of someone or something. It is the regarding of someone or something as interesting or important. Right? So if you want to be somebody or go somewhere, then you have to be careful what you notice is important. The things that you designate as important. Because attention and time go side by side. The things that I pay attention to, I put my time into. And I was telling them yesterday at Branchwood that time is God's universal currency. Everybody gets it. We get different amounts, but we all get time. Right? And so God doesn't necessarily give us things. What he gives us is time. He don't give us friendships. What he does is he gives us time. We invest that time in people, and that relationship becomes a friendship. We call that investment of time friendship. Or we call that investment of time marriage. Or we call that investment of time family. Right? So if you want to have these things, it's how you invest this time.
That's right.
See, God gives us this currency, and we must trade it for the things that we want.
Hallelujah, Jesus.
And then we're going to figure out what it is that we want by what we have at the conclusion. And you will find the things that you have achieved in your life or have not achieved in your life are all proportioned to the amount of time that
Come
you have
on,
spent.
Pastor.
Talk to us.
Huh? See, I would say to my young people who are in school, the honor roll is about time. If you want to be on the honor roll, then you must put in the time.
That's right.
Right? A whole lot of kids are smart enough, they just haven't put in the time.
That's right.
Huh? You follow what I'm saying? And so we're looking again, this benefit of time. See, I never met a rich man who didn't pay close attention to time. Amen. Broke people get there when they get there.
Amen.
Right? Right? When you can tell when you go rich people, you're not late when you go to rich people. Because they don't have, you're not going right there to see them, they have appointments. And your appointment is at 10 o'clock. And because I have things to do and I've assigned my time to currency, if you get there at 11 o'clock, you might not get.
That's right.
Whereas I can go around Ray Ray's and get at any time. I'll be down there. When you coming, I'll be down there. I gotta stop by and do something out there. See, but you understand, time is the only true proof of respect is time. The only true proof of value in something is the amount of time you spend.
All right now.
So I got it. I know we're on marriage today.
Yes.
And I can't figure out how we can be married and don't spend no time.
All right.
Amen.
Right.
I was talking to another preacher and he was giving me grief because I went to see Anita Baker.
Oh.
And I said, how are you going to do that? I said, I don't care what it was. It was 3 hours of time with my wife. Anita might have showed up. She might have not have showed up.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Anita happened to be there. The point was to be with God.
Yeah, right.
We could have gone to Denny. She didn't want to go. She don't like this. She's not going to Denny's no more.
No more.
It was Davey with the Denny. She won't go. I don't know how we keep getting there on Denny's. Grand Slam.
Go ahead,
And so, again, the willingness to invest time. So when you look, God's saying, when you look at the things that you have not achieved in your life,
right.
ask yourself how much time you've put into it. How many laps have I run? I keep saying I want to lose weight. How many laps have I run?
Yes.
I ain't put in no time, but then I expect things to come out.
My God.
And so God says we have to budget your time like you budget your money.
Right.
Huh? If you want results, you have to budget time. And the budgeting of time is called attention.
Right.
And if you want to go somewhere, you want to be somebody, you better wake up and pay attention
Look at this.
to where you're budgeting your time.
You see that?
Some of us spend our time complaining. Some of us spend our time worrying. Right? If that's where you're going to be, then guess what you're going to get? Worry and complaint.
My God.
The time is a seed that is planted that will be harvested. Okay, all right. Now, when I looked up the word attention, y'all, went back to attention. And the word attention comes from Latin attendere or attendere, which means to stretch. To stretch towards something is to pay attention, is to give it attention. And so I asked myself, it doesn't seem to be the right verb there, Sister Dewana, if it means to stretch, to pay attention. Why would we pay for something? Why would it not just give attention? Why do we have to pay attention? And the Lord had me look at it a little bit, and he said, tell the kids, or tell my children that he's tired of unpaid attention.
All right, Jesus. Thank you.
Right? He's tired of being unpaid attention. Right? He's tired of people getting on time for work and late for church. You're on time to the job I gave you, and then late to my house.
Jesus.
Help us, God.
Lord, forgive us.
Because we have our eyes on the gift and not the giver. My God. What? Unpaid, I'm going to keep going. Unpaid attention. Amen. Right? You see it on the video. Now, this message is called Unpaid Attention. But be careful. Unpaid is spelled P-A-Y-E-D. Not P-A-I-D, it's P-A-Y-E-D. Why is it P-A-Y-E-D? Oh, because one of the biggest fallacies that we have in this life, one of the biggest misconceptions, is the idea that we can be whole on our own.
My God.
I don't care what Essence Magazine says. I don't care what Men's Health says.
Yes.
Time, whoever it is. If you want to be whole, then you got to eat this vegan thing. Drink this tropical juice. Sit Indian style and count to 20 in this language, whatever it is. That these things will make us whole. Well, I'm here to tell you, without Jesus, we cannot be whole.
Amen.
There's nothing we can read, there's nothing we can drink, there's nothing we can eat, smoke, anything, that without Jesus, we can't be whole. Right? And it's important that you note that, because that comes from this prideful, arrogant position. See, if I think I can be whole, then I think the things around me can make me whole. And so I think that sufficiency is around me. That's the devil's workshop, y'all. When you think I am whole, I am enough, I am sufficient because of the things that I got around me. Because I got 10 cars, I must be whole. Because I got $10 million, I must be whole. Right? Because when you think of provisions in that linear way, then you're in dangerous territory. Because, see, if you think that you are whole because of the things around you and the resources that you have, then all the devil got to do is take away those resources. And then what will you think? Then I must not be whole. I must not be enough. I must not be sufficient. And that's where the devil wants you. He wants you to think that you have to find help somewhere else. That all the help is not in God. Jehovah Jireh. If God, he provides for us, if I know that all things come from him,
See that?
then no matter where I am, I'm whole.
Yes.
If I know that if I'm on a mountaintop, in a jail cell, in an operating room, in a mansion, wherever it might be, it's God that makes me whole.
Amen.
Then my location does not determine. But we have too many people in the world who are getting lost because they think that where they are and the things they have around them determine their wholeness. And so, 1 Corinthians 2:9 said, "But as it is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither have it even entered into the heart of man, the things which God hath prepared for them that love him." In other words, there's a whole lot more coming for you than you got right now. Now is not all. Now is not the end.
My God.
Whether now is a good place or a bad place, now the game ain't over.
All right.
The game ain't over. We were at BJ and them game. They played Fairmont Heights. And I sat there with an old friend of mine whose son was on the other team. And there were these young boys behind us. And as the game went on, the game was about 6 minutes left in the game. And Douglas had a little lead, about 10 points. And they were high-fiving each other. Yeah, it's over. Yeah, we got him. And us old guys looked over and said, it ain't over.
That's right.
Y'all better sit down. It ain't over.
That's right.
Because we have been around long enough to know a whole lot can happen in 6 minutes. 6 minutes, and that's a lot of time. You high-fiving it there. And those who've been around see how foolish that is. God is saying, I see some of y'all dancing, but it ain't over. It's a whole lot of time left. I see some of y'all crying, but it ain't over. Some of y'all about to throw in the towel. It's 6 minutes left.
My God.
We got a whole lot of playing. I have a whole lot more for you. You're crying about being lonely. I have a whole lot more relationship for you. You're crying about lacking provision. I have a whole lot more for you. And the game ain't over.
Yes.
All right, keep going.
Amen. Amen.
Now, when we believe, as I said, as the world does, if we think that the resources around us make us whole, then we start acting funny.
Yeah.
Right? Because if the 10 cars is what makes me whole, if you take one of my cars, I'm not as whole. And so, Sister Dawn, that's going to make me protect them cars. When you come near my car, I'm going to start acting up. Because I don't want you to take the thing that I believe makes me whole.
Yes, that's right.
And so wars have been fought because I thought you were going to take something from me. Many a man lies 6 feet underground because he thought somebody was going to take something from him. Many a divorce court is full because you thought I was trying to take something from me. Many relationships have been broken. Brother don't speak to brother. Sister don't speak to sister. Because I thought you was trying to take something that I believe made me whole. Huh? As a matter of fact, going back, some of the oldest laws that we have, the whole idea of restitution, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. That goes back way back to Hammurabi. And it kept on going all the way to the laws that we base our Roman laws, called lex talionis, or the law of venge. Venge. See, too many of us spend our time trying to go back and venge. The word venge means hold. So many of us try to go back, and when we think you have taken something from us, we want revenge. We want to get whole again. So if I think you hurt somebody that I love, then I'm going to try to get them whole again, so I'm going to avenge. So a whole lot of us keep going back and forth. But I look down here, Rick, in Deuteronomy 32 and 35, and the Bible said, to me belongeth vengeance and recompense.
Yes.
Their foot shall slide in due time, for the day of their calamity is at hand. See, we think paying attention means giving sacrifice. But that ain't what God wanted me to say. That's why we got to spell it this way here. P-A-Y-E-D. Because it's a term, it's a sailor's term. Where we get our word, pay attention from, is really from sailors. Back in Europe, see, when the ship was in the dock and they were trying to get it out to sail, they had ropes that they would tie to the front of it, what's called a stern bow, the bow. And then they would pull, the boys would pull, and the ship would come out. Right? And as they're pulling and pulling and pulling, that's called paying the ropes.
Yep.
Right? Paying the ropes. And they pull it tight. And then at some point, the boat gets out into the channel where it can do by itself, and then you have to release the ropes. So they would say, pay the tension. Meaning let the ropes go and let the boat do what it's designed to do. So to pay the tension meant that I pulled as far as I can, and now you must do what you are destined to do.
Jesus.
And so God's saying it's too many unpaid attention. You're still holding on to rope when
My God, I told you to release it.
I told you to let it go, and you're still holding on to it. See, now the thing is, if you hold on to rope when the boat get out there, you will get dragged into the water. Right? So you need to turn loose so that you don't drown. Just as much as so the boat can do its thing. God's saying the same way. You need to let go so that you don't drown trying to hold on.
Right.
My God. Thank you, Jesus.
So go back to Matthew, the 16th chapter. And go back there. Go back there. And I told y'all seen the whole thing. What happens is that in Matthew 15, Jesus fed 5,000 hungry souls with the fish and the loaves of bread. Right? And right after that, the Pharisees come out and they want to see it again. Right? The miraculous things God has done, the world wants to see them.
That's right.
But they want to come because they're fans. They want to see, can you do that again? Let me check that out. So they come out there and they want to see, and Jesus won't be part of it.
Yes.
He won't get it. No, I'm not doing all that. And so they say, let's go, let's be out. And they leave. They go to the other side. And then you get there, and one of these days I'm going to preach this too. The disciples got mad because they left their bread. The bread that God had given them on the other side, Sister Levia, they had all these extra baskets. But Jesus made everybody leave so quick that they forgot to bring their baskets. So they were mad about yesterday's miracle. You remember that? Right? And so Jesus says to them, you better make sure that you don't eat the same bread the Pharisees ate.
Oh, Jesus.
See, the Pharisees came out to see a miracle. They wanted to see how I provided because they didn't really believe where it came from. See, and you mad on this side because you don't know that the same guy who provided the bread over here will provide it over here.
Yes,
see, you thought you left something, but as long as I'm with you, you have not left anything.
Amen.
I don't care what it is in your life. As long as Jesus is with you, you haven't left anything.
My God.
Jesus.
Some people think I had to leave that relationship. As long as Jesus is with me, I haven't left anything.
That's right.
I might have a different name, but I haven't left nothing. I'm not going to lose for having.
My God.
My
Let
God.
it go. Let it go.
And so he had to go. He had to straighten the disciples out. You sound just like them.
That's right.
You point the finger at them. See, they're sinners. They just wanted to see you perform a miracle. Where'd you put my bread, Jesus? Come on, son. Yeah, okay. So they leave out, and they go to this place called Caesarea Philippi, which is just north of Capernaum. And Caesarea Philippi used to be a place called Pania, because it was built as a tribute to their pagan god Pan, right? And Pan was the god of provision. Having enough, the place of enough, Pania, the place of enough. And so this was a place that worshiped enough. I worship having enough. We thank you, Pan, that there's enough. That there's enough food, enough love, enough coal, whatever enough might be. And so Jesus takes them to the place of enough, where you think you've had enough. And his disciples get there, and then we get to verse 20. We stopped at verse 18, where he's talking to Peter. Remember that real famous, he just said, upon this rock will I build my church. When I was studying Levy, I found out that when he said, thou art Peter, that word was Petros, it means little piece. But then when he says, upon this rock, it's Petra, it means foundational stone. So he told Peter from the very beginning, you're a little piece of the foundational stone. A whole lot of us think we are the rock.
Oh my God.
When we just a little piece of the foundational stone. Because somebody called your name, you think you are the rock.
My God.
You gotta, because if you're not careful, you think you hold by yourself.
That's right.
You think I am the rock. Everybody comes and asks me questions. They want to know, tell me, Pastor, what should I do? So now you think, oh, because the Lord gave you one answer, now you think you're the wicked. Saints of God, if you're not careful, you'll think it's you.
Amen.
And whatever it is, if you're not careful, you will think it's you. It ain't you.
That's right.
It's never has been you. To my young saints, to my seasoned saints, it ain't you, and it never has been you. And if we be truly honest, we know it doesn't.
That's right.
If we tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
So jump down here to verse 20. After he tells them that the gates of hell will not prevail against this, verse 20 says, then he charged his disciples that they should tell no man that he was Jesus the Christ. So we figured out who I am. Now that y'all got that, don't run and tell anybody. And I would always wonder now why he didn't want nobody to know. Right? Because I'm human, and I would have wanted everybody to know. I'd have had a t-shirt, one of them Christ what's up shirts, with my face on it, you know what I'm saying? Christ what's up. That's what I would have did. And y'all would have done it too. But there was a couple reasons. One reason was he just left people who were cheering for him. And he did not want more cheering. See, Jesus understands that everybody who's cheering for you don't want good.
That's right.
Some people come just to watch you fall.
Yes.
And so he don't tell them because they're going to come with false adulation.
That's right.
That's perfect. Then he said, don't tell them because it's going to be confusion already.
Right.
I already know that they've been waiting for the Messiah. When I tell them the Messiah that I am he, that there's going to be problems with the Pharisees going to act up. We already know that.
Yeah.
So let's not start that until we have to. Right? And then lastly, Jesus knew that the Messianic tradition of the Jews said that when the Messiah comes, the sick will be healed.
Yes.
The lame will be made whole. The blinded eye will be opened.
Right.
They already knew the characteristics of the coming Messiah. And so Jesus said, just let them see.
My God.
I shouldn't have to say anything.
Oh, Jesus.
Just let them see that the sick are healed.
Right there,
That the blinded eyes are open at a pool called Bethesda. That I move in the lives and hearts of men. And you won't have to tell. I told y'all the story, I'll say quickly, about a football player that's a guy named Joe Hayden who plays for the Steelers now, I believe. And when he was at Friendly High School, right, I was one of the coaches over there to Surrattsville. And I remember that his college coach named Urban Meyer. At that time, he was the coach at the University of Florida, and they were number one in the country. And he was coming to look at Joe, right? And they were walking to the field, and I was walking behind them, ear hustling, walking. And now Urban Meyer is the big man. He's won championships also. So he walks in, and the Coach Early was about to tell him what number Joe was. He said, Joe is, he said, don't tell me. If he's good enough to play for me, when they start playing, I'm going to know who he is.
Right. Watch out.
Jesus said, don't tell him who I am.
You see that?
I'm so good, when we start playing, you're going to know. You don't got to tell him I'm the Christ. You can ask the blind man, am I the Christ? Who can see. Ask Bartimaeus, am I the Christ? Ask the woman with the issue of blood, am I the Christ? I don't got to say nothing. Ask dude, he'll tell you. He will tell. Ask 5,000 folk who now have food, who was ask them, tell you.
That's right.
So many times you don't have to advertise.
That's it.
Let my works mark. So verse 20, the Lord showed me, he said, that's why I did that. And then from that, verse 21 says, from that time forth began Jesus to show unto his disciples how that he must go unto Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and chief priests and scribes and be killed and be raised again the third day. Wait. Wah, 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 wah. I thought this was going to be a good ride. We blind eyes open, people party. I thought it was going to be cool. Wait a minute. You're going to... Well, we didn't follow you to death. We wanted to follow you to like miracles. We wanted to follow you to victory. So matter of fact, we just knew you were going to whoop the Romans eventually, right? So we wanted to come with you when you go in there and beat Caesar. But you're telling me that you are going to die? I didn't sign up for this. But okay, you're going to rise up again, but you got to die first? Then I have to go to Jerusalem and I have to be tortured. I have to be mistreated. I have to be talked about. I have to go through these things in order to get to victory on the other side. I got to go through here. I'm following you. I don't know if I want to follow you that way. Can I meet you over at Victory? Y'all laughing, a whole lot of us trying to meet him over at Victory.
My God. Oh, yes.
We want to start out with him at Miracle, and we want to meet him over at Victory, but we don't want to go through Pain.
My God.
We want to go down Pain Street to get around there. So I'm going to go around and meet you.
Talk to us.
We don't realize there's no other way to get to Victory Street. You try to find... I know y'all probably don't believe this, but I have a hard time following GPS directions. I do pretty good though. I do pretty good when I'm far away. But the closer I get to the goal, then I start to think I know what I'm doing. They said, go down here 2 blocks, make a left. Well, if I just make a left right here, then I could, you know. And I end up in the wrong place because sometimes there's only one street to get where you're going.
Oh, Jesus.
And it might not seem to make no sense that I got to go all the way down to this street to get here. And but again, there's only one way to get to victory.
That's right.
Some of us try to cut through at prayer and fasting, but you guys still got to go through.
That's right.
Some of us got to cut through prayer, Bible class and Bible bands and reading books and all that's great, but you still have to go down.
You got to go through.
Got to go through.
My God.
So this begins the period known as the Messianic rejection, right? He was not only rejected of the world, but even his own boys rejected him. Why? Because they didn't want to go through the street. They had to go down there. And it was okay. They were all cool on verse 20. Verse 18, they were shouting upon this rock. Right? They were happy. They said, this rock is going down Torture Street. Look, see, then the church got quiet. My God. Help us, Lord. And so then Peter, Petros, the one upon whom I'm going to build this church. Peter, the Bible says in verse 22, that Peter took him and began to rebuke him. 3 verses later. I just told you were going to be the foundation, that your knowledge of who I am is the foundation of the church. So now this knowledgeable one turns and tries to rebuke the Lord.
Isn't that
My
something?
God.
3 verses later, that's what kill you about it. That's how y'all know I'm not. Couldn't have did it. I couldn't have did it. Of all the people who should shut up, it should be Peter. Let one of these other people who did not see what you have seen come. But you were there when I fed 5,000.
Yes.
You were there. You were there when I raised the sick. You were there. You stood right there. You know. So how of all the people who come and say something slick, it's going to be you?
Wow.
Look like let somebody else, but how it's going to be you? My God. So the Bible says in verse 22, Peter took him and began to rebuke him, saying, be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not be unto thee. I told y'all way back at the school, there's only one sin. We just wrap it up in different clothes. And that sin is unbelief.
That's right.
It's not believing the word of God.
That's right.
Ye shall not surely die. God says, when you eat this, if you eat of this tree, you shall die. The devil tells Eve, you shall not surely die. Which one you gonna believe? You believe Eve? Out. God said that we have to go through torture. I must die. Peter says, be it far from thee. I just told you what had to be done. Anytime you find yourself disagreeing with the word of God, you're in trouble. There's no definition, there's no translation that's going to go against the word of God. If you're reading a book and the book say that something contrary to the word, put the book down.
Amen.
Don't try to put the Bible down, put the book down.
down.
That's
Yeah,
right.
right.
Amen. And so Peter says, be it far from thee, Lord. And Jesus says, he turned and said to Peter, get thee behind me, Satan. In verse 18, you was the rock upon which I'm going to build my church. And then by verse 21, get behind me, Satan. See, a lot of people don't realize he's talking to the same guy. That 1 minute he was the rock, and the next minute he was Satan. Think about that. Why? Why? Because at some point, Peter is trying to hold on to the old notion. When God has revealed who he is and what has to be done, he's still holding on to the rope.
Yes.
Peter has unpaid attention.
Yes.
See, because, well, I'll keep on right here. I feel something down in here. He turned and said to Peter, get thee behind me, Satan. Thou art an offense unto me. For thou savorest not the things that be of God, but those that be of men.
Yes.
In loose terms, you still trying to do you.
Yes.
That song that McReynolds sang yesterday about white or black. I wish I could have my cake and eat it too. I wish I could do my thing and still do you.
Wow.
But it don't work like that.
No, no.
It's either white or black.
All black.
Ah! Preach, McReynolds. It don't work like that. It's either going to be white or it's going to be black. And so Jesus had to check Peter and said, now you're black. First you was white at 18, but now you're black. Because the song is called No Gray. We're trying to be gray. We're trying to be gray. So the reasons why people, I'm going to get ready to stop. The reasons why people leave their attention unpaid. 4 things, write these down and see if you see yourself in them. One of the reasons why we leave things unpaid, unlet go, is because we don't understand the whole story. Peter did not understand that Jesus had to die. That he was born to die. He was not born to perform miracles.
That's right.
He was not born to have songs written about him. He was born to die. From the very beginning. But Peter didn't know the story. He didn't understand. So from his perspective, he's doing what he thinks is right. So a whole lot of us, we don't let go because sometimes God's will is unexplainable to us because it requires hurt. We're not good at hurt. That's one. So we don't understand the whole story. Secondly, we are prompted by sincere devotion. I really love you, Jesus. I don't want nothing to happen to you, Jesus. Come on. No, you my man. Right? But one of the things we have to understand is that God don't always operate in pleasure.
That is the truth.
Right? God does some of his best work in pain.
That's right.
And sometimes, just because a person is going through pain does not mean that God is not working on that.
That's true.
I told you sometimes he's using pain to teach a lesson. He's using heartache to teach a lesson. And if you get in the way because you love them and don't want them to hurt, you might be getting in the way of the lesson that God is trying to teach.
Isn't that something?
Every now and again, I wish, hallelujah, I wish that I could put this on the Prince George's County Public School website. Give to the parents and say, parents, sometimes
That's right.
the child has to learn from failure.
That's right.
Sometimes the child has to learn through painful experience.
Yes.
And the teacher don't hate your child.
That's right.
I got 80 kids. You're just one of them.
Right.
I don't hate none of them. I don't love none of them. I don't hate none of them. So-and-so told me you don't like her. I don't even remember her name. I call her the tall girl. I don't think about her when she leaves this room. I don't hate her. Teachers come.
Right.
Sister Mom's like, I'm retired now. So he said, so we do it because A, we don't get the whole story. Secondly, we're prompted by this sincere devotion.
Yes.
And then thirdly, we have this strong feeling to protect from offense. This sense of justice. Right? We try to put our sense of justice into a situation. We're not just.
No.
You can't be just. Jesus is just. Right? We try to say, how arrogant of us to think that we have the right answer.
Right.
That I know what's best in the situation. Rick and Alicia are having an argument. There, let me go and tell Alicia what she should do. I don't know nothing. What do I know? Because Rick is my man. You thinking I got a right to come in and say something?
Yeah.
Because I know what's right. That's what we do. That's what we do.
Yeah.
I think they call it mine and other folks.
Business.
That's right.
You need to go get you some business so that you can leave my business. My God. We have this strong tendency to take up another. And again, we hold on to their rope.
Yes.
When God's supposed to be letting them float on their own, we're still holding on to their rope. And see what happens. If you hold on to the rope, when it's out there, not only will you drown, but you'll make the ship crash.
Oh my God.
You see that?
That's why God said you got to let go. You got to let go. You have to pay the tension.
Oh, Jesus.
And what's happening is too much unpaid tension. Too much holding on to things that I've already delivered you from.
Right.
Too much crying over things that I've already delivered. I don't know who that's for, but keep going. The last one, we interfere because of our own selfishness. Over and over again. To be in the center of God's will requires that we deny ourselves. Even our desire to be the hero. Even our desire not to see tears. Even our desire to have things work out in a way that will not embarrass us. And so God's saying, in our effort to maintain our appearance or our perception of ourselves, we get in the way and we hold on longer than we should. Not just with our children. Y'all better think about our children. Not just with our children, but in our relationship with God.
Yes.
When a season has passed in ministry, it's time to move on.
Amen.
I know that you was on the praise team. Praise the Lord. But if that season has passed, it was time for new members to join the praise team. Praise God. If that means pastor's time is over, and he need to go sit down so that new people can come. Praise God. You have to know that.
That's right.
You can't be so I've been on this usher board. I know people who've been on usher board for 70 years.
I know.
They can't even stand up. They have their own crutches on the usher board. Now, praise God for your faithfulness.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, at some point, you can't even do the offering. You can't.
Right.
So at some point, I got to let somebody younger who can move.
You see that?
It's not that the church ain't disrespecting you. You 95. We praise God for all that you have done, but it's okay to go sit down.
You see that?
And to not go sit down is selfishness.
Yes.
To not let somebody else who have their opportunity because you just don't want to give up your seat.
Yes.
That's what he said. We hold on to the rope.
That's right.
My God, my God. And so it's time to pray. It's time to pray because God said, I need y'all to pay attention.
Oh, God.
Meaning that you got to pay the attention.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
time to let go and let God.
Amen.
Time for you to stop getting in God's way because God's way hurts a little bit. Getting in God's way because God's way you've never seen it before.
That's true.
Because God's way might embarrass you a little bit. You might have to go back on something you had said you was going to do. Now you can't do it because God's way. Because you can't have your cake and eat it too. It's got to be black or white. So if there's somebody here who, give me some soft music here, move us. If there's somebody here who finds yourself in the middle of the water and you're holding on to something God's telling you to let go of. If it's a relationship, if it's a job, whatever it might be, if God is telling you to let it go, I just want to pray with you.